All right, we're close enough. Let's get going, everybody.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The roll call, please.
Mr. Beach?
Here.
Mr. Bova? Mr. Brodsky? Ms. Burke? Mr. Coyne?
Present.
Mr. D'Elia?
Here.
Mr. Dodge?
Here.
Mr. Ford?
Present.
Mr. Karam?
Here.
Mr. Miola?
Present.
Mr. Santa Croce? And Mr. Saunders?
Here.
Thank you.
You have the draft May 19, 2025 board minutes in your packet. Is there a motion to approve?
Aye.
A second? Done. Thank you. Any corrections, deletions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. The first item on our agenda, a resolution for award of contract. Dan?
So this resolution is for the award of a contract to FurPal Construction LLC for the Kennedy Road Water Main Relining Project. There's a 1 mile section of water main that exists on Kennedy Road in the town of Marcy between Kavanaugh and Hayes Road that requires rehabilitation. We've had quite a number of breaks along this line over the years, and we intend to rehabilitate it with the use of a structural pipe liner, which is a 2-part epoxy resin liner that will go on the inside of the interior of the pipe, and it alone has enough structural integrity to be a pipe of its own. So really, you've got an instance here. If we rehabilitated it, you'd have really 2 pipes within one another, which gives you maybe a little bit more reliability moving forward. Advertising of the bids and bidding and the evaluation of the contract was conducted in accordance with our procurement policy. We received 2 bids. FurPal Construction LLC of Upper Marlboro, Maryland was the low bidder in the amount of $1,199,880, which is within our project budget. FurPal Construction has not worked with us before, but when we contacted references, we believe that they have the appropriate experience and capability to complete the required lining work. And so the resolution is for the approval of this contract.
Any questions for Dan?
Just one. How you gonna check?
Check what?
How you gonna check if they put the plastic in the liner?
We'll be on site. We'll have inspectors. We'll watch it. There's a whole process that'll be there. So
It's called incognito.
no, there's a way they'll have to televise it after the fact, because they got to televise it also before the relining takes place, so they can identify the location of the service lateral, so they can, after the liner is in, they can drill those out and reinstate them.
Do they pressure test it, or?
They will have to pressure test it as well. And this pipe has a little flexibility because it's an epoxy resin-based liner. It's got a little bit more flexibility at its joints, so a little more strength.
Danny?
No, he answered it. The corporation stops.
Yeah, that's what I asked him.
Any other questions? Someone care to move the resolution as presented? There's a first and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. The next one, Dan?
This resolution is for the award of a contract to Ramble Engineers for engineering services to provide construction inspection associated with our 2025 lead service line replacement projects. As the board was aware, at the last meeting, we awarded 2 contracts to replace lead service lines within our service area. The Mike Valley requires assistance from engineering consultants to perform the daily construction and inspection of the lead service line replacement work associated with those 2 contracts. Whereas the advertising and solicitation of engineering services and evaluation for this contract was conducted in accordance with Mike Valley's procurement policy. And we received two bids from two consultants, of which Rambo Engineers was the lowest responsible bidder, at a proposed cost of $178,944, to be billed to us at an hourly rate of $107.80, which is within our project budget. The cost for this inspection service will be reimbursed by the grant fund, the grants we received from the EFC. I just want to remind the board, we received $9 million in grant award. We let two construction projects out last month at $4 million each. So with the remaining $1 million, this fee would be paid for out of that.
And as I recall, Dan, each contractor is going to do about 475 services.
Correct.
So you're talking about, roughly 1,000 services that are going to be replaced. And we don't have the capacity to do all that inspection work ourselves. But the grant money can be used, as Dan said, to hire outside services to monitor that activity. And at $100 an hour, that's pretty reasonable. That's a lower level person.
Any questions?
Well, just for Pat, any likelihood that this requirement for replacing all the lead service lines will be thrown out?
We haven't heard that yet. The deadline might get extended, but we haven't, I don't know, maybe Phil, you have heard something different than that. You're a little bit closer to that than I am, but, okay. We're not counting on that.
Yeah,
be honest.
no, I'm just curious to
Yeah.
see.
Anything else, Vince?
Well, if it does get thrown out, do we have an option to get out of this contract?
If it gets thrown out, it probably won't happen during the period of this contract.
What is the length of the contract?
Well, until those services are done, I think it's just gonna run through, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And this is grant money.
It's grant money, yeah.
Do we already have?
Pardon?
Do we have this grant money?
Cost reimbursed.
Yeah, we submit it and get,
Guaranteed.
We draw it.
Questions
Yeah.
very valid.
yeah, EFC's been good about that.
We get reimbursed for it.
Unlike FEMA, that takes us 5 years to get the money back in some cases. EFC is pretty quick about doing that.
Yeah, good.
Anybody else? Someone care to move the resolution as presented? We'll throw a second in there. Any further comments or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. It's Dan's night.
Okay.
Last one. Here you go.
For this resolution, the New York State DOT is implementing a project to replace the Route 921C North Genesee Gateway bridges in in Utica, New York, which cross the Erie Canal and the Mohawk River. And that project would begin in the summer of 2026. The Mohawk Valley Water Authority currently have mains that go across the Erie Canal. Both of our mains rest on the bottom of the Erie Canal, one 24-inch, one 30-inch main. And then one of those mains continues to run southerly across the Mohawk River, but then at the Mohawk River, it's suspended under the DOT's bridge. So they're looking to actually do some realignment of those existing bridges and kind of dedicating a new utility corridor. So they want to displace us and move us outside of where we currently exist with our mains. The DOT has contacted the Mohawk Valley Water Authority with regards to relocating these mains across the canal and the river, and the DOT has agreed to pay for the costs of the labor, materials, testing, construction, oversight of the design and construction of the relocation, such that the only expense that the Water Authority would be responsible for would be the acquisition of the necessary easements, including but not limited to acquisition costs, filing fees, and preparation of easement agreements. The replacement and relocation of the water mains would provide significant benefit to the Mohawk Valley Water Authority because it would replace old pipe from 1915 with new pipe and would be located in a more accessible location for us to maintain.
anybody know about where the easements gotta go? Where are they coming from or location? You guys checked on it?
There's a design of where the mains will go. And I think the tax parcels are identified in the owners.
That's right. We'd be behind the well care business, the old AmeriCube business running across there. We'd across the canal at that point to the Portofino island there, peninsula. And then we would run kind of diagonal and come out in front of the UPS store, the mechanics building there. I think there's a Subway there as well and a Denny's. Those are the 4 locations where we need easements: in front of the mechanics, in front of UPS Postal Service, at Portofino, and behind the Well Now Center.
So you have no problem with those easements with those people who own the property?
Well, that's to be determined.
So
We have yet to engage, nor has the DOT, we have yet to engage any of those property owners. So in the next month, we plan on going along with the DOT and National Grid to have conversations with these property owners to see if they'd be willing to provide us with easements.
And how long are these mains?
Probably maybe about 1,000 feet in total length for each main. So, I roughly estimated the value of the work that they would be undertaking around $2 million.
One of the mains crosses the canal along the bottom. It's actually in the water. And if we had a problem, well, one, we can't tell if it's leaking, because if it was, it'd be leaking straight in the water. 2, if we had to repair it, getting down there would be really troublesome. So they're going to get it out into an area where it's going to be accessible, brand new, and easily maintained. So we'll get a lot of benefit out of this. So we just need to see how willing the property owners are going to be with the easements. Ken's going to be our heavy-handed gun in that one.
our prayers go with you, sir.
Any other questions? Yes, Frank? Is there a second? Rich, thanks. Any further comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. The intermunicipal agreement, is that you two?
Nope.
Take it.
They're off the agenda.
I'll do it. Dan was getting tired.
Yeah.
New York Middle School District has a couple of fire hydrants that are on school property that are deficient and need repairs, and essentially reached out and asked if we might be able to assist them just supplying the materials. They'll pay for them. But when you look at it and we're buying, 80 to 100 fire hydrants a year, we get a good quantity discount. If they had to go out and buy these things and the appurtenances, the connections, etc., it would cost them a whole lot more money than we buy it for as a volume buyer through the plumbing houses. So essentially what we're proposing is we're going to sell them what they need, not to mention also assist them in determining what they need to accomplish the work. They'll pay us at our cost. We'll just replenish our inventory. None of these things are going to deplete our inventory. That's going to cripple our ability to function. So we're just essentially doing it as a favor to be a good neighbor to a local school district and public cause and make sure they have good fire protection there. But it doesn't cost us anything.
Any questions for Pat?
What does one plug cost?
Fire hydrant?
Yeah.
Depends on the barrel length.
It's on back there.
Is that the $4,000, $39.94.69?
Yeah, I mean, they've gone up a lot. But it also depends. I mean, if you buy it with a 4-foot length stem barrel versus 7 or 8 feet, depends how deep the main is. That'll change the price a little bit too. But yeah, they're a couple $1,000s a piece. And my guess is that they'd be paying probably 40% more if they had to buy this stuff by themselves.
That's a big mark.
Yes, Frank?
And they're not gonna move forward without your approval anyways, correct, in the plans that they're wanna do?
Right.
Just to make their
Right.
stuff.
Our one of our engineers in the back, Jeremy Fennell, has already been working with them to determine what they need. That's how this thing was put together.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Good idea.
Someone care to move the resolution and agreement as presented? Thanks. Coming there. Any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Jim?
Yes.
In your binder is the April and May financial reports. So we're doing two. We're going to catch up here. Focusing on the May, because the most recent consumption, we're doing pretty well. If you recall, we started off the year, we were 7% above the prior year. We dropped down a little to 5% in March, about 2.8. April and May, April is 3.1 above, and May is 3.4. So we're doing pretty well overall with consumption. Where water sales were up 341,000 compared to the budget, and 776,000 compared to the prior year. So revenue is coming in, and cash flow is doing pretty well. We took a little dip this past month in May, but overall, year to date, we're still above, and we're covering all our costs. So we're doing very well, considering. Got to pay out a lot for some of these projects. So part of it has been that we've had to pay out some project costs and get reimbursed. FEMA, Pat mentioned before. Yeah, so we're getting these in finally, the FEMA money and the EFC money. So it's coming back to us. We're setting it aside because all that money that we fronted is for the Phase 2 project that's going on now, which I don't know if everyone saw pictures of some of the large mains that were being put in.
Any questions for Jim?
I got one. So under assets, you show sewer charges collected, obviously for the sewer portion, but you have to pay that back to the.
Right. So that's just the portion that we've collected and have not paid. So we're paying the 15th of every month of what we've collected in the previous month. So
My question would be, wouldn't that show up under short-term liability somewhere?
it is in there. Yes. Should be somewhere there. Yeah. So it offsets each other.
Thank you. I missed it.
No, it's all right.
Anything else, Mark?
I don't know, sir.
Anybody? Thanks, Jim.
Yeah.
Pat?
Okay, I got a couple quick items. So I mentioned 2 months ago that I had sent a letter to the village of Herkimer, giving a deadline for them to make a decision about whether they were going to participate in this transmission line project going east. The health department had asked me to hold off on that deadline. They wanted to meet with them and kind of help them arrive at some decision. The outcome of that meeting was that they decided they wanted to meet with us again, which happened just last week. Dan, Phil were in a meeting, Ken was in a meeting, Jim was in a meeting. They haven't arrived at a decision yet, but I get the sense that they have a clear understanding now that they have to get rid of at least part of their current water source, which is a surface supply coming from the north, and that they eventually need to begin taking water from us. So the next step, and Ken knows this, is that he and the village attorney will be discussing some of the beginnings of a framework for their participation in this project. We asked them to identify what kind of concerns they might want to have and how we potentially could address that. And so I think it's a much more active conversation at this point. I hope by next month's meeting we'll have a little bit stronger feedback as to the final fate of this project. If they're out, we would then just focus predominantly on Ilion and Schuyler and potentially Frankfurt. If they're in, then everybody comes back to the table and we have to re-examine growth factors and things like that. So we'll keep you posted, but it was an interesting meeting to say the least. Was it productive? It depends on how you look at it, I guess. But I think they're coming to a realization that they need to make some sort of decision quickly, and I anticipate that will happen. The other thing I want to mention is that I'm going to be leading all of our employees through, I'm facilitating it myself, through an update of our strategic plan, which the board approved a revised version of it several years back. But as I leave and Phil and another management team takes over in January, I thought it'd be helpful to have an updated plan that they could work off of, tied to the budget process, so that ideally everything we fund in the budget is in support of some part of the plan, vice versa. And so we're scheduling those sessions for next week and a little bit into the following week. And I just wanted to invite any board members that are interested in sitting in any of those sessions. You're more than welcome to come and sit down. Each session is going to be 3 hours. And my goal is to have everybody in the organization sit in on one of the sessions. So right now we have 9 of them, 10 of them planned. Yeah. 10 with roughly 9 participants, roughly 90 employees. And so some will be morning, 8:30 to 12:30, or I'm sorry, 8:30 to 11:30, or 9 to 12. We're staggering them to kind of match the work hours of different portions of the workforce. But I'm going to ask Amy, I'm not going to be at work tomorrow, but I'm going to ask Amy to just send the schedule out to all of you. And if you want to participate in any of those and you find one that fits your schedule, just let Amy know. We'll make sure we have an extra seat available for you. Even if you come in as an observer, that's great. We'd also love to get your input. We're going to be evaluating the current plan, looking at the goals to make sure that they really haven't shifted much lately, and also our strategies and action items. Some probably will be crossing off because we think we've accomplished them and made good progress. There might be some new ones that are going to arise from conversations at the table. And so, as I said, all of your input would be welcome if you have the time and interest. And if not, we'll be bringing back a draft plan, I hope, for the July meeting. And, we can do a quick 5-minute overview of it and hopefully have board buy-in at that time. Another outstanding item is the treatment plant tour. It's been mentioned a couple times. We haven't scheduled one yet. I saw Jeff last week at a different meeting and said, when are we going to tour the treatment plant? So Amy and I were talking and with Phil, and I don't know, the best way to set it up might be for maybe we can send an email out with a proposed time, and then you can all respond and who's available and whether you're interested. I mean, you don't have to go, but it's a fascinating tour. It's a really good learning experience. So maybe we throw out 2 dates. We'll work with Phil and the company up there, Veolia, to make sure. Veolia? That's a new name, right? Okay, I want to make sure I had that right. It changed hands recently to get it set up. So sometime in the next few weeks, if you can take a look at that email and let us know if you want to go, we'll set that up, and then we can arrange for transportation. The last time we did it, we all met out front. We took 2 or 3 cars up there. If you'd rather drive yourself, you can meet us there, obviously, if you got other plans. So we'll go ahead and get that set up. We'll get some proposed dates over the next few weeks. Last thing I want to mention is that Dan has been approached, predominantly Dan, by the Herkimer County Industrial Development Agency, the Herkimer IDA, run by a gentleman named John Pisak. He has been fortunate enough to obtain $4 million of grant money to build a water tank at the Schuyler Business Park. Pepsi-Cola's down there. They need it predominantly for fire protection, but it's going to serve the whole park for fire protection, and it'll supply domestic water to the park as well. The cost of the tank is paid for with the grants, but John, I think, is interested in whether the Water Authority would participate financially in the project and do some cost sharing. Dan has already offered that because it would need an extra vault and control valve to regulate the water in the tank and such. And we would also be pitching in with some inspection services since we'd be inheriting the tank. We want to make sure it's done properly. So, to the tune of about $30,000 plus services in kind for inspection, we've already proposed to participate, but he may be looking for an extra contribution. In the past, we had a model developed, and the only way we would ever decide to chip in for a project would be if a municipality was doing a project to bring water to people that didn't have it, and they were designing it and paying for it at the need to meet their current needs. If we decided that there was a reason to chip in extra and upsize what they were doing for future development that would benefit us beyond their immediate needs, Then we decided in the past, for example, with Skylar, we did that when they were building a tank. If they made it bigger, it'd be more useful to us as well. In this case, the tank is actually oversized. It'll meet the fire needs and it's designed for those demands. For domestic use, it's actually more water than they really need. And the whole thing is already paid for with grant money. It's not like the local taxpayers are paying for it. So our position between Dan and I and Phil is that we don't see any precedent or past instances from the board where we would make a financial contribution to a project like that. It doesn't really fit our model. I just wanted to make you all aware of it in case you hear something like that reverberating back through from the IDA. Our recommendation is that it's not a project that really qualifies for financial participation, particularly since it's already paid for with a grant. So that's our position. If anybody disagrees, I guess let me know. But
We've never done it any other way.
never done it for anybody else.
I would like if the board to consider a resolution supporting the notion that what Pat outlined we're doing is what we're doing, and that's it. Just to back Dan so they can just get this thing going. If somebody cares to move it.
You guys want to draw it up, or you want to do a verbal?
What do we need, Pat?
I would say if the board wants to sort of reaffirm what Dan and I are already telling them, I would simply say that maybe the board make a motion to say that after the explanation, we've determined that there's no cause for financial contribution on the part of the water authority to this project, and the board agrees with the judgment of our engineer.
Okay, I'll second it.
That works. Great.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Thank you.
Last thing I'll mention real quickly, and I don't want to get too deep into it because it's sort of security sensitive, but everybody knows obviously what's going on in the Middle East right now. And as Iran was trying to respond, apparently they launched a series of widespread AI-generated cyber attacks. And our website was getting clobbered, but the good news is our firewalling held up very well, and it was a non-issue for us. But I throw that out there because Jim Mack and his folks and our consultants, I think, have done a very good job keeping our system tight and impervious. I think, and Jim called me Friday night about 8:30 or 9 o'clock at home and said, what was it, 8,000 attacks a minute was hitting our firewall.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was AI generated, and I guess they were just looking for anything that would collapse under that barrage. We didn't. There was nothing to exploit. So kudos to our IT department on that regard.
Overload.
So yeah, so that's all I have, unless there's any questions on anything I've gone over or any other questions.
Any? Thanks, Pat. Any old business? Any new business? We do need to go into a brief executive session concerning a personnel matter. Someone please move that. Thanks, Jeff. There's seconds. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Thank you.